Today, we're going to dive into a really timeless story about a simple woodcutter whose entire life gets turned upside down by a series of incredible tests. It's a story that really makes you think about a fundamental question. How should we live our lives? So let's get right into it.
The whole story really boils down to this one big question. Does being a good person, being patient, doing the right thing, does it actually pay off in the end? We're about to see how one man's life becomes the living answer to that very question.
All right, so our story plays out through a series of tests. And this first one, it's all about patience. We're going to see how our main character reacts when the one thing he depends on to survive is suddenly put at risk.
Okay, so let me introduce you to our main guy, Yusuf. He's a woodcutter, and life for him is, well, it's a simple daily grind. He's got a wife, Fatima, and 2 kids, and he provides for them by cutting wood and selling it. They're really living on the edge, where just one bad day could mean no food on the table.
But here's the thing about Yusuf, the thing that really sets him apart. Despite this constant struggle, you never hear him complain. He lives by this core belief: whatever God gives, therein lies blessing. And for him, that's not just a nice little saying, it's his whole philosophy. And it's about to be put to a serious test.
So just picture this. Yusuf has just wrapped up a long, hard day's work. His entire livelihood, everything he's worked for, is sitting right there in a pile of logs. And then the sky just opens up. A massive downpour soaks everything. His wood is completely worthless now, and his family's at home waiting for him to bring back money for food. Now, this is the point where, let's be honest, most of us would probably just throw in the towel, right? But not Yusuf. He goes right back to his core belief. He practices sabr, which is this really deep kind of patience and trust. He just believes there has to be a reason for this. So totally against all logic, he starts hauling his soaking wet wood to the market anyway.
And you won't believe what happens next. Just when it looks like his faith was totally misplaced, something incredible happens. A well-dressed man, a healer they call a hakim, spots him, and instead of laughing at the wet wood, he's actually thrilled. Turns out he needs exactly that kind of wood to make a special medicine. He buys the entire lot for double the price. Yusuf's absolute disaster just turned into his biggest payday ever.
Okay, so test number 1, passed with flying colors. Yusuf's patience paid off big time. But we're just getting started. Now comes a totally different kind of test. This one isn't about patience in the face of disaster, it's about virtue in the face of temptation.
The very next day, this little thought creeps into his head, a really tempting one. Hey, what if I just soak the wood myself? I could make double the money every single day. It's the perfect shortcut, right? But just as quickly as the idea comes, he pushes it away. Deceiving someone like that, it just goes against everything he believes in.
Later that day, he's back out in the forest working, and suddenly he hears this total commotion. There are bandits on the road. And who does he find hiding in fear? It's a familiar face, the Hakim. The bandits have robbed him of everything, and the man is absolutely terrified.
And right then and there, Yusuf has a choice to make. He looks at his stack of wood, that's his family's dinner right there, and then he looks at the terrified Hakim. Without a second of hesitation, he leaves his wood behind and rushes to help the man find safety. For him, a person's life is just so much more important than a day's wages.
The Hakim is so incredibly grateful for this act of pure selflessness. And as a reward, he gives Yusuf something strange. It's not money. It's a small bag, and he says it's filled with magical seeds. He tells Yusuf to go plant them, and he promises they will change his destiny.
And boy, do they change his destiny.
This kicks off the third, and you could argue, the toughest test of all. See, this isn't a test of how you survive poverty, it's a test of how you handle immense, unbelievable wealth.
So Yusuf, he goes and plants these seeds, right? And what happens next is it's pure magic. In just one day, they sprout into saplings. By day 2, they're already covered in flowers. And on the 3rd day, the plants are full of these bizarre, glowing golden fruits.
So he picks one of these golden fruits, cuts it open, and inside, it's not what you'd expect. It's not filled with pulp or seeds, it's filled with a glittering, perfect, precious diamond. And every single fruit on every plant holds another diamond. In an instant, the poor woodcutter becomes one of the wealthiest men in the entire land.
But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. You'd think he'd be celebrating, right? Nope, he's worried. He's actually afraid that all this money is going to change him, that it'll make him greedy and arrogant, and that he'll lose the very character that brought him this fortune in the first place.
And wouldn't you know it, that test comes sooner than he thinks. A massive fire just tears through his village, destroying homes, leaving his neighbors with absolutely nothing. And what does Yusuf do? He takes his entire unimaginable fortune and he gives it all away to help them rebuild their lives. Every last diamond, gone. And just like that, poof, he's back where he started, a poor woodcutter with nothing to his name. He gave it all away. But the story's not quite done with him yet. There's one final chapter, and this is where he finds his true reward.
So months go by. Life is back to normal for Yusuf, just chopping wood every day. One evening, on his way home, he hears these desperate cries for help. A young man has fallen into a deep, dark well. Without even thinking about his own safety, Yusuf grabs his rope, climbs down, and rescues him.
So Yusuf gets the guy out, takes him to his humble home, and nurses him back to health. And it's only then that he discovers who he's actually saved. This wasn't just some traveler. It was Prince Ali, the one and only son of the king.
The king is of course overjoyed and brings Yusuf to the palace. He tells him, ask for anything, anything at all, and it's yours. Riches, power, land. I mean, this is his chance to get it all back and then some. And what does Yusuf ask for? He doesn't ask for a single thing for himself. He asks for a well for his village because they're always short on water.
The king is he's blown away. He's so moved by this man's character that he orders not one, but 3 wells to be built. And he doesn't stop there. He also commands that a mosque be built and a school for all the village children. Yusuf's one small, selfless request for his community snowballed into a massive reward that would benefit generations to come.
Which brings us full circle, right back to that question we started with. After all these trials and tribulations, what's the ultimate lesson here? What did Yusuf's whole journey teach him about what true wealth really is?
And then, for one last time, the Hakim reappears. And he basically lays it all out for Yusuf. He confirms what we've been seeing all along, that everything, the rain, the diamonds, the fire, it was all a deliberate test of his character. And because he passed every single time, choosing to be a good person over being a rich one, his blessings would now be real and lasting.
So what's the big takeaway here? It seems pretty clear. The story is telling us that true wealth isn't the stuff you can hold in your hands, but the character you hold in your heart. It's about your integrity and what you give back. Which leaves us all with a final question to chew on. What are the tests that life is throwing at you, and what is your character telling you to do about them?